All right. Woo! I knew it was sturdy, but I was like, okay, I'm a big dude. What you got going on over here? Anything new?
Not much, just been working on this.
This is all wood that he planed, sawmilled. So you just picked up the wood, right?
Just took down 2 trees.
All right, let's talk about side hustles. Let's go look at the sawmill real quick. How much did you pay for this thing? Is it 16 grand?
9,000.
9,000. That was like how many years ago?
Maybe 3-4 years ago.
All these trees fall down? Or you cut them all down?
I cut them down. Used for the tree house. Oh, shit.
I like that. That was mine. I was out here before.
About 4 or 5 years ago, me and Troy looked at this thing, went and picked it up. Troy didn't see the opportunity, just like I thought he was a little cheap when he was doing all of his stuff. So now most of you that are dealing with houses, you've seen what the lumber prices are doing as far as they're just going up, up, up.
How much is a 2x4?
A 2x4 now is like 4. If you're lucky, you can get it a little under 4, but most people are paying over $4 for a 2x4.
Close to 5.
Right. For me to cut a 2x4 in gas, it just cost me to pick the thing up, bring it back here, mill it, cost me 50 cents per 2x4 to cut them up, turn them into lumber. Of course, you've got dry time, stuff like that, so it helps to have barns somewhere you can stick it out of the weather, get it dry. You can also just do a dry stack outside, just cover it up and let it age or let it dry out in the wind.
So how's this thing operate? You set your...
Operating is easy. You basically load the log here on the side, got a hydraulic log loader for you.
So this little thing right here.
Yeah, it picks it up for you.
So you just roll it onto here.
It flips it onto the sawmill for you. It's got clamps on it that lock it into place for you. Log roller that rolls it over for you. It's got log leveler at the end that'll keep the log up and down for you.
What's this?
That's the clamp.
Feeds it?
It's the clamp that keeps it pushed tight.
Okay, so it's rolling on this thing, so you can go as far back as you want.
We can cut 21 feet. They make extensions to where if you want to cut a 50-foot tree, you can just put extensions out there and cut a 50-foot tree.
Just keep going.
So basically, it's pretty easy. I mean, you can cut anywhere from 4 to 15 trees in a given day, just depending on if you've got a helper, how fast you want to turn through it. Helps to know what you're going after. A lot of trees that we pick up down here, sweet gums, maples, different things like that, until you get into it and see what the wood grain looks like, you really don't know what you want to do with it. A lot of times with real pretty stuff, you just cut up slabs for either beams, countertops,
That's where the big money is in finishing that nice wood. Like you've made me some cheese plates, some wine cheese plates, all that stuff, and that's just from...
Just stuff that I've thrown on the sawmill and eventually cut up just into little sections, finish
Put some poly on it.
Put some poly on it and let it be as pretty as it was when you cut it down. So that's been the best thing that we've used it for, is just cutting different pieces. You know, we've got some beams over here that are dried, ready to go into one of the flips. Just whenever the circumstance arises, I just look in here, look up there in the barn, see what we've got stacked up and dried, and see where I can apply it. Shelving in the bathroom instead of just putting your towel rod on the wall. Put a shelf up there, hang your towel down from it. It makes it 1,000 times better just putting a little plank of wood in there. You don't have to spend much time. If you've got the sawmill or if you've just got a local lumber yard, that's another thing that I ended up doing with it is I had more than I could ever use in our flips. Run down to the lumber yard. Can y'all sell this for me? Yeah, how much do you want for it? They just gave me a $2,000 check, more than I would have got if I would have sat here and sold it piece by piece. So that was another way that it just kind of happened into where it's really hot to have rough cut lumber right now. It's kind of the thing. Some cities have already burned through it.
What's rough cut?
Rough cut is basically where you have the saw blades still showing in your wood. Rough cut is just the first process. Nobody's touched it, nobody's planed it.
Yeah.
Nobody's finished it. It's got a rough course to it. You've still got, once you buff this up, you end up with a solid piece.
So this is like your leftover. This is what you couldn't use, or you could use it if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's what's called the rounds. And a lot of people take these and use them on fence boards. And you just nail them up to your posts around your property, make little rustic fence boards.
So this was 9,000 bucks. In fact, you could actually sell it for more than what you paid for it right now.
9,000, these are going right now for about 22, 23. It was a good investment. When I saw it come up, I was like, Troy, I know we don't really need it, but we do need it. Eventually we're gonna need it, we're gonna want it. And it gives us something that we can put in our flips that the everyday guy is not putting in there. He's not putting that extra thought in there of maybe it's a $9,000 investment. I paid for it in the first year. Had a couple of people bring me truckloads of stuff, cut it up for them. They paid it last $2,000 that I took down to the lumber mill. It was done in a year. This thing's paid for, and now we just use it just because we got it. Everything
What
kind of
wood
flows
do you-
together.
What kind of wood do you want? Like if somebody's watching this video right now and they're like, you know what? I don't want to own a sawmill, but I got a bunch of wood that I want to get rid of. I'm in Mississippi, I'm in Alabama, I'll truck it over to you. What kind of wood would you dream to have to cut up?
Ideally is your black walnut, but the people have already understood what the prices are bringing on those. Those are like, I call them tree gold, because some of the logs I've seen go for $50,000. Just cut a log in half, plane it, stick it in somebody's room. That was a 50-foot table, big banquet table. Sold it to him for $50,000. And all he did was set the tree on his sawmill, make one pass through it, sold half of that tree for $50,000. That's I mean, you don't even have to have a gold mine, lease rights, nothing, just black walnut. Find out if you got it. If you got it and you want to get rid of them,
Hit us up.
hit us up.
Hit us up. What other tree? I mean, it might as well.
Locally, our best tree is sweet gum and magnolia. Those are the two best ones. Magnolia,
That's the state tree of
it's a
Mississippi.
state tree, so you only harvest them if somebody already has a permit to clear the land. It's not something that you would go in and just take out willy-nilly because it is a state tree. It's a protected tree.
What about oak?
Oaks, we don't have the greatest oaks down here. Live oak is real pretty and it's real durable. It's hard to work with because it kind of kerfs when it dries. It's not the best to work with.
So sweet gum, black walnut,
maple, yellow poplar, any poplar. Basically your off trees. Cedars are great. Cypress, if you've got them. If you're in a wetland area, you're going to have some cypress around
what about
you.
like a sequoia, like a hybrid cedar?
You're going to have a hard time finding a sawmill that won't get squashed by a sequoia. You're talking commercial sawmill for something like that.
This thing is going to have a hard time. You're going to.
Oh yeah, you'd have to go with the heavy
The most expensive part of this machine, I know you've talked about it in private before, is probably this piece right here, right?
The blades are pretty much dealt with. They've developed a system now where you can pretty well sharpen them until they break.
So how much is this blade right here?
The blades have gotten cheap here. My average blade runs me about 20 bucks.
How long will it last you?
I can sharpen them 5, 6, 7 times. So about 70 trees, 80 trees per blade, per 20 bucks. Maintenance on it has gotten good. You know, the biggest thing is if you're starting out is to find somebody who understands the hydraulic maintenance part of it. Things got kind of froze up, so I had another guy down the street that wanted to borrow it and cut some stuff up. He fixed it for free. I couldn't complain with that. Saved
he
me.
Gets to use it?
Yeah, he got to use it. Several $1,000s that it saved me, and a couple of days trip driving it up to somebody who could fix it and bring it back. So like I said, it paid for itself within a year, and then the maintenance and upkeep, I think I've spent maybe $1,500 in blades.
So once it got rolling again,
parts.
you started cutting a bunch of stuff again, it looks like.
Oh yeah, I've been going at it.
If you have black walnut, I just heard what I needed to hear in this whole video. If you've got black walnut, we'll give you something. You got a pulley system here.
Yep.
That spits out all the sawdust on it.
Yep, processes out
This
that
belt
way.
turns the pulley.
Everything is mechanically operated, so there's no pushing, no pulling. You just have to unload the tree. The motor for the drive right here, this takes care of the sawmill itself. You got hydraulic controls for everything that you need to do on it, and then you've got another motor that operates all of the actual control. And this takes it up, down, controls your slide arm so you can open up your tree cut. As far as driving it through the trees, you've got your speed set, so if you've got a thick tree, you turn it down. If you got a light tree like pine, which is mostly what we have around here, you can speed it up and just bang, bang,
What's
bang.
the two
right
types of
through
pines
it.
that grow in Mississippi?
There's really only one. We've got shortleaf is kind of coming in.
Loblolly?
Loblolly is the main thing.
Loblolly pine.
Yep,
What's the other
'cause they-
pine?
Shortleaf,
Shortleaf and loblolly.
which shortleaf is not indigenous to here. It's just kind of drifting in with pollination.
Kind of the big dream of Brian's and mine was, I got concrete on the brain, he's got wood on the brain, but we'd really like to start some sort of a plant. We got a meeting with somebody here locally who there's an old abandoned plant or something like that. We're trying to get it together. And this was proof of concept, really,
Right.
for you. We both were talking about when we were first building houses, we identified what the biggest cost of it was, which
It's
was
definitely lumber.
How do they come in again? How does just explain how lumber gets here so people understand how you can really save money on lumber.
Well, I mean, your lumber from the mill to you at Lowe's is a heavy process, so you're dealing with many people who have touched it. You've got the guy who's actually brought it out of the woods to the mill. He sells it to the mill processes it. They send it on to the finished processor who's going to label it and distribute it. That distributor then processes it out to your Lowe's or your local lumber yard. Whereas if you can set up something like this, like the main thing that you could do with this is everybody's going metal roofs these days in the South because it's more hurricane resistant. I could cut pine all day, every day and sell it 1x4s for stripping for your metal roofs. Everybody needs it. Everybody has to pay $16 for a 1x4x16 at the lumber yard, whereas for me to cut a 1x4 16, I could do a basic size tree, cut 16 of them out of it. Cost me about, like I said, maybe a quarter to 50 cents per piece versus you can turn around and sell.
All right, let's go. So I think that's a good side hustle. How much is it again, real quick?
It was $9,000 for that.
$9,000.
Here's your boy, Troy.
Oh,
That was the one out of the backyard.
nice. This was recently shot in this yard right here.
Yep.
Were you sitting out on the porch?
I was sitting back in the backfield. I got kids. I don't have time to go to the camp every day, so I'll hunt in the backyard.
Real quick about the side hustle business. The reason why it's a cool thing is we talked about the ice machine last time with you, but in terms of cost, you can get in that deal for, like you said, 25 grand now. You can finance that deal. And how much could a guy expect to make per day if he had access to lumber?
Well, like I said, I paid for it just doing side cutting, still flipping, still, you know, not spending a lot of time on that thing. Still paid for the $9,000 plus getting it up to snuff, ordering the blades and stuff. Still paid for it in a year. So that was just small time, you know, 10 hours a week cutting. Treehouse, this would have cost me probably about 4 grand where it's at right now, not counting siding and everything
Take a look
else.
at that real quick. This is all milled wood. Even from the risers, this is milled. So how much money did he save himself? 4,000 bucks. So if you're looking at that, you're like, okay, that was a $9,000 piece of machine. Well, guess what? He's got the baddest ass treat for his kids and anybody else. Look at all these rafters, everything. So
Yep, everything's cut at true 2 inches instead of 1.5 inches, so it's gonna have that much more time to be exposed.
now, do you need to stain this to make it last?
Oh yeah, I'll have to stain it because as you can tell, it never stops raining here.
So we had to get out of the rain, but if you've ever thought about wood cutting as a side business, or if you haven't thought about wood cutting as a side business, I would tell you, if the lumber mills are making tons of money, why can't you? That's all you gotta do is buy the machine. Trees are free. A lot of the stuff you get is for free.
Everything I cut is free.
So your cost of goods is
Zero.
Zero. Besides maybe gas to go get it.
Gas, go get it, and that's it. Everybody has always loaded the trees for me. I just bring my truck trailer out there. They load the trees up. I drive down the road, bring it back here. It doesn't cost me anything. Most I ever have to do is cut the stumps off of the tree.
Right.
That's about all, the hardest labor I do on it. Bring it back here. Like I was saying earlier, if you can operate a tape measure and you can operate a basic skill saw, that thing's not much different. I mean, it's just a combination of a tape measure and a skill saw. Tape measure's built onto the saw and the skill's in your brain. So most of these places that you can get a sawmill, Wood-Mizer was my choice because they have a really good maintenance program. There's a lot of other companies coming out right now with sawmills for personal use. They'll train you up on them. When you buy the unit, you can just say, hey, I've never done it before, like some training on it. They even have tips on if you want to try and do it as like a income producing. These are the ways that you can market your thing. And a lot of them, like Wood-Mizer has a system set up where they'll help you sell your products.
So if you got black walnut or you want a side hustle, hit us up, comment below. Peace.